Hey, Lulu Love. I wanted to make a video for you about a couple of stories from working in the hospital that are very spiritual stories. Made me believe more in the afterlife. I have befriended the person that I'm going to be speaking about. I'm going to keep all confidentiality, of course, not tell you what town, what hospital, what name, what situation, but they are okay with me disclosing this, but I still choose not to. So it was a regular patient of mine. I worked actually in the hospital setting, but we had certain regulars in our area, and I was actually off that day, and it was not my regular day off. So I had come in the next day and heard about that my patient had coded. He had had a reaction to something that was given to him, and he had stopped breathing. He wasn't hooked up to monitors like he should have been, and they did have to do a code blue on him, but he was resuscitated. He did have some residual damage from not having oxygen for 20 plus minutes, but respiratory, and the doctors were able to save him. I went to see him. He was in the hospital for a few days or more. I went to see him afterwards, and he said, "Thank you so much for bringing me back." I was like, it had been probably 3 days, so he should have been more with it. But he said the only thing he remembered about that day was that, and a lot of times it was just me and him, there was a long hallway, but he said that I was leading him down a long hallway, and it was getting dimmer, or the hallway was dim and it was getting brighter as we were walking, like we were walking into a light. And I stopped and said, "We need to go back now." And I turned around and took him back into the hallway, the dimmer hallway, and then it got darker, and then he woke up. Well, that was what he was experiencing while his heart was stopped. And these were from his words. So we kind of have a special bond. I wasn't even there that day, but yet I was the one who, and I do have clairvoyancy, and I am an empath, and I'm special. I'm weird, but special. I try not to say too much, like I said, because the people who do know me in my life know that some of this is true. I mean, it is true, not some of it. It is true. I've always been different, and I can't explain to you really why. So I had that experience in the hospital. I had another experience where one of my patients, they always came to me and told me all kinds of things, their whole life story. Like, they always opened up to me. And he was very fearful of death, and he was close to it. And so I held him and let him cry, and I talked to him and, explained to him that what my belief was, and because he was okay with hearing that. And we prayed, and he cried, and he said, "Thank you so much." Well, maybe a month later, there was a door to a back room that was very heavy. It was an isolation room, and the door was really heavy. Nobody was on my side of where I was, the nurse's station. And that door, I looked up, and it was open and then closing. It closed slowly, but it was very heavy. It would never just open, a wooden glass door, wood and glass. And when I peeked in the room, the lights were off, but I saw my patient that had passed away sitting in the chair with his cane at his side. And I blinked and kind of shook my head and looked around. And when I looked again, he was gone. So definitely interesting. I have had people see loved ones in the room with them that have passed on. They usually do that sometimes a few days before they do pass away, and they're waiting for them to come to the other side. And most of the time, they're not fearful at that point. Their body gets to a point where, it's very sad for all of us watching, but I've gone through several code situations, and some you just know that they're going to be okay, and sometimes you know that they're not. But that is part of life, and you have to do the best you can, and you still pray for them, and you try your hardest to do all you can to save their life. But God is in control. We do intervene, but I do believe that sometimes there's nothing that we can do, if that makes sense. People have certain exit points they can leave if they choose to, or if their soul or mission has been completed. I believe that. I believe that's why people are in car wrecks that should have been fatality and they walk away without a scratch. I believe that's why people are in fender benders and they are killed. I believe that you get so many exit points, and if you are completed here on this earth, or you know, call uncle, like when you're playing a game when you're a kid and you're done, you're out. There are times that as God knows your spirituality, knows your soul, knows you're ready, that you will pass on. So there's not a lot I can explain more. A lot of stories. I don't want to give too much detail of anything, and I think a lot of other stories probably would, just because there is HIPAA and patient confidentiality, and you have to respect that. People don't need to know or want people to know all of their business, but I left this very generalized. Whenever my loved one passed on, I found him passed away already, and he had been passed away for quite a time. And just trust me, we realized that, he was at my house, so he wasn't wasn't an option for resuscitation. But about 2 weeks after he passed away, I went to a chaplain at the hospital I worked for. She was from another country. She was very, very one of those people who, whenever you lay eyes on them, they just make you feel like tingly and calm and peaceful, and you just want to be in their presence. And her and another chaplain prayed with me for almost an hour for me, for my loved one's soul, for everything in the situation. And the best advice I got was, he knew that you loved him and he loved you. You did the best that you could, or the best you knew how to do, to help him, but it's done. He is gone. The past is gone. You can't go back and bring him back. And today is here. Tomorrow hasn't happened yet. So you have to focus on right now in this moment, and know that you did the best you could. That night, I had a dream, my first one, that he was in. He was up above, but not really in the sky, just higher than me. And all I can really remember, I did write it down from the dream, was his face was glowing, happy. He was anemic, so he was always pale, and he was like rosy and just looked healthy and was smiling at me, and without words let me know he was okay. and his soul was in a happy, peaceful place. And when I woke up, I felt like I had been wrapped in a blanket of peace, love, harmony from from God letting my loved one come through. And it was the most stunning thing that happened. The feeling didn't last forever, but it helped me get through several weeks, and I'm forever grateful. There are miracles out there, and there are things that we cannot explain. If you do pray, you have to really believe it. You have to really believe it for it to work. And if you don't, and you're just praying to pray, then the faith isn't there, and that's what you need to make these prayers manifest. So that's just a tidbit of my experience. I've been a registered nurse I've worked as a nurse for 10 years, but I was an LPN for a couple of years first. So I wanted to share that to you. That was actually a request from Vegana Fit. She wanted to know if I would make a video on that. And there you go, baby girl. So if anybody wants to has questions, I'm going to try to set up to have a live stream at some point, even though I don't have enough subscribers, but I know there are ways around that. So if there are questions or things, you can leave them below, and if they're pertinent or I can help you at all, I will make an actual video about it. If not, I will comment back to you as soon as possible. I try to get to my comments as much as I can. Some days I have to have a break, and other days I just am busy, overwhelmed, etc., etc. Yada, 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 yada. In the famous words of Elaine. I think it was Elaine. Oh, no. It was on the Seinfeld show, though. Namaste. Much love. Do no harm. It's hard. It's hard to do. I have one situation that it's hard. Hard to do. I was looking at the clouds because it was looking kind of crazy outside, but I might have to go out there and take a picture of the sky. So, tune in again. I know, 2 videos in one day. What do you know? I'm feeling kind of frisky, I guess. Have a great one.